Good evening, everyone. Irfan Mitchell, the Select Board Chair. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Mr. Kamalu, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, thank you, Irfan. On behalf of the town's senior leaders, it is my privilege to greet you and extend a warm welcome to you all, elected leaders and chairs of appointed town boards and committees. As I always say, I see you all, and welcome to our second all hands meeting. What is common between last year's meeting and this year's meeting is that the threat of COVID-19 is lurking over us. All of us are hearing in the news that things may get worse in the coming weeks. This is a pandemic that has been with us now for over 24 months. Community Hopkinton's resilience and high sense of community, and I strongly believe that, is going to be put to the test and will also be the reason why we persevere. Tonight, once again, we gather in the spirit of the old African proverb. I feel very happy whenever I say this. If you want to go fast, you should go alone. If you want to go far, we go together. Beginning in the fall, your department heads and staff have been working collaboratively on their respective visions and goals, laying the foundation for tonight's meeting. This continuous improvement effort is paying dividends. For example, it is now eminently evidenced or articulated in a tighter and clearer link between the town's strategic goals, vision and mission, and the departmental budget priorities. You will hear this link explained tonight and in the coming months as we go through the budget process and hopefully at town meeting. Why we're here tonight is we would like to hear your questions and comments on our collective priorities. Let me hasten to add that these are the priorities for Community Hopkinton, a $4.5 billion community, the #1 public school system in the Commonwealth, the safest small town in USA, now the fastest growing community in central Massachusetts, a community that has pledged inclusion, social justice, and equity in its service delivery. Shortly before tonight's meeting, you were provided a worksheet listing each department's priorities for all of us to reference during the brief presentations. At the end of tonight's webinar, John and I will be asking for your feedback on how best to deliver this event in the future. Your feedback will help inform our next big goal, the update of the town's vision, mission, and goals, which will be followed by the development of the town's comprehensive strategic plan. This is a goal that I have had for many, many years. It's a goal that we have talked about as a community. And I believe, as I say, the work that we've been doing with John, with our respective boards on goal setting has positioned us successfully to be ready for this next step. Tonight's meeting, as you know, will be facilitated by John Wortman, best-selling author of Mastering Communication at Work and executive coach and trainer to many, many towns and cities across New England. I'm delighted that John will help us tonight to celebrate our progress together, building up our strategic planning and goal setting capacity. And John, before I launch into my brief description, the brief description of the town manager's goals, do you want to say something?
What's so fun about tonight is that you get to actually look for two things. Number one, connections. See connections between different departments, see connections between different leaders, and see the way that over the past 2 years, your professional staff has been working together to define why they want to do what they want to do, where they want to take us, and what we're going to do when we get there. Secondly, your questions is you should be taking notes at all times because, of course, we're all the good public servants that want to not miss a beat. Don't rely on that worksheet we just sent you. Actually write down what you think are the most important goals for each leader and be ready to ask questions at the end. If we don't get to questions at the end for every single person, you'll be able to then follow up with those leaders specifically at the end. But before we go to Norman, I'd like our chair lead of the Board of Select folks, Irfan, if you would begin by talking about the goals process that we went through as a select board briefly. I'll fill in the blanks if you need me to, and then present the goals of the select board.
Sure, thank you. So for the public's benefit, we met with John and we kind of went through a process of defining goals and how to go about achieving those goals. We started out with coming up with your basic issue or the basic what is the goal, and follow that up by why is this a goal? Why do we need to deal with it? As we look at it, then you kind of break it into various macro chunks as to how can these goals be achieved, and how do we delegate, and to whom do we delegate these pieces? So the select board spent some time going through and determining, what are our town's priorities and how do we go about, dealing with it. So in that vein, we came up with a list of 10 goals that we wanted to deal with. The first was regarding mental health. And the goal is to have 100% mentally healthy Hopkinton, mental health services in Hopkinton, so everyone is able to deal with it. Why? Why is this a goal? Well, that's because we're all dealing with this pandemic. There's been an awful lot of stress on everyone, and we feel like mental health is one of our priorities. Second goal.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me interrupt you for a second, though, because you just said you want 100% mental health. That's absolutely impossible. How can you make that your number one goal, something that we can't achieve in the next year, even the next 5, something so difficult?
Well, we understand that things can be difficult, and if we don't shoot high, we're not going to get there. But what we are going to do is that's our goal. That's what we want to shoot for. We may not achieve it, but we will strive to get there. And without shooting high, we don't want to shoot too low.
There's this thesis about SMART goals, and the A in SMART goals is attainable. That is not the ideal in the public sector in terms of this level of strategic planning. The idea that we would leave anyone outside of the mental health care and service of the town is just not something that the select board chose to do. Thank you for that clarification. We just wanted to give people context into where we were going. What's goal number 2 from your board?
So goal number 2 was universal adherence to the budget message and a timeline to have a complete and balanced budget within 14 days before a town meeting. The reason for this is we want the public to be informed. We want the public to have a chance to see what our budget is and what we're prioritizing in advance of town meetings so that they can present their questions to the appropriate boards. So, yeah, okay, so I'm just going to give the goal and the why. If there's any follow-up questions, please ask. The third goal that we came up with was to address climate change. Why are we dealing with that? Well, because it's going to have an impact on every person within our town, whether it be with regards to flooding, whether it be with regards to drought. It is something that's going to be affecting the entire town, and we want to be prepared. The fourth goal was to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion at all levels throughout the town. Why are we doing this? Well, we do believe that our town is all inclusive. We want to give everybody an opportunity to participate and in town, in our town, and also we feel that everyone has something to add. Additionally, we took a pledge a year ago that this is one of the things that we would be dealing with, in that we wanted to increase diversity. We wanted inclusion at all levels throughout the town, so all voices are heard and represented, and town staff and volunteers mirror the demographic, the makeup of the town as a whole. Number 5, address the town's water needs. I think the recent development in the PFAS discovery in our wells kind of really highlights this. But we're a growing town, and we need to provide safe, drinkable water for our town. And I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Now that we have PFAS, it's even more urgent that we need to make sure that we have both a short-term and a long-term solution to our town's water needs. Number 6, provide inclusive, transparent communication to all citizens. We want transparency. We want the town citizenry to know what we're doing, why we're doing it. We as a board, we feel that there should be nothing that should be secret, and everything should be out in the open. Number 7, maintain everyone's high quality of life at a time during increased growth and development. And this is basically what we're trying to do is to maintain everything that we love about Hopkinton. As we grow, obviously services are stretched, and we want to make sure that those services are maintained and even enhanced. Number 8, increase public participation in the visioning and strategic planning for the town. Well, again, this kind of goes back to one of our previous goals, that we believe that having everybody joining in only creates a better town. If we can address everyone's needs or everyone's wants, we can only get there through the public participation. Number 9, develop a relationship with Eversource. As we all know, that there is a massive LNG facility that is managed by Eversource, that is run by Eversource and owned by Eversource. And we feel as though we should know what's going on at this place, at the LNG facility. And finally, it was maintaining a sense of calm throughout this disturbing period for the Main Street Corridor project, and empowering professional staff communication around the highways and roadway projects. And the reason for this is we are digging up our entire downtown. It's causing a major disruption, and we just want to make sure that we can address people's concerns and keep people satisfied as we go through this major project.
Thank you, sir. The select board did a great job of being very inclusive of each other's goals. And of course, we're not going to reach all of them this year, but what they did is they named those big goals, answers to problem statements, came up with the chunks, the macros that would make them possible. That's the sort of thing that will be handed off to the professional staff. And then of course, you heard the why. You're about to hear the same from each of your leaders in town. And again, be taking notes about connections and then the questions you want to ask at the end. And they're going to spend 2 to 3 minutes giving you the vision, where we're going for their department or their focus, their 3 big goals, what we're going to do when we get there, and then the why. Why is it so important? What's the mission behind each of these goals? They're going to keep their responses to 2 to 3 minutes. And again, we'll be taking a break at 7 o'clock on the top of the hour. Norman, you're next.
Thank you, John. As a reminder, as we shared last year, the town manager's office vision is that town hall is trusted by all people to provide the best local governance in the Commonwealth. And in the coming year, how do we do that? Number one, finalize a repeatable strategic planning process for the town. This is important because in community building, we're always looking for alignment, inclusion, and engagement in defining the community's needs, its future, and the associated resource allocation. Secondly, facilitating the aspirations of the renewed finance team. This is important because the fiscal health of the town is key to its future sustainability. Last but not least, support employee happiness. Our most valued resource in successful service delivery are our employees. And as part of this goal, we are prioritizing, and this is becoming the core of what we do here in Hopkinton, self-care.
Now, Norman, I'm going to poke a little bit. Happiness, government, that's an oxymoron. How in the world do you intend to keep Connor happy? I mean, he's a grumpy bear. He's difficult to work with. He bothers everyone he spends time with. He's rough on the public. Of course, I'm teasing, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't know, I'm here to add a little bit of smile and levity to the work. Happiness. What do you mean by happiness, though, Norman? I'm going to poke a couple questions here just to keep things moving as we go along tonight.
We want to make sure that Connor is able to fulfill the goals of his office on a day-to-day basis, giving him the appropriate resources, and most importantly, also acknowledging and celebrating the successes that he accomplishes for this town.
Bingo. It's the celebration piece that in all the town governments I work and the school districts across New Hampshire, we don't do it well enough. One of the things I start with every single coaching session I do with people is brag. Tell me about the good things. That's what you're hearing tonight, is you're having your leaders brag about the things that they're excited about working on, and they can't wait to hear your questions at the end. Elaine, you're next, our assistant town manager. You're talking on behalf of land use and permitting.
Right, for the land use planning and permitting department, which encompasses conservation, planning, zoning, building, open space. Our vision is that we're an inclusive and forward-looking, collaborative, pragmatic, and open place. And to that end, our goals for this year are to first, to work collaboratively with our colleagues and town departments to use an online permitting system and make it available to the public. This will improve service to the public, customer service, which is really important to us, and also improve efficiency in the permitting and inspection processes. Second, we would like to update our strategic plan for the department, which is about 5 years old at this point, working with our stakeholders. And this is important so that we can identify and plan for the future needs of the community from a land use perspective. And third, we would like to provide additional staff resources for the Conservation Commission and inspectional services. And these additional resources would focus on environmental protection, open space preservation, and life safety code inspection, and getting into the climate change area as well.
Notice the connections in Elaine's presentation to technology, strategic planning, and the use of permitting as part of the projects we're all working on. You're going to see a lot of these themes and keep noticing them. Which brings us to Sean. You've had one of the more painful years, Sean, in the history of public service. You've been keeping us safe. Make that 2 years. And we're deeply grateful for those of you who missed the opening to our experience tonight. We were talking about favorite treats, and any kid who wants to get vaccinated, a lollipop is available. We're not afraid to use bribes to keep people healthy. Sean, give us your vision for HHS.
Thank you, John. So when we had originally met to discuss our vision, the first thing that came to my mind is, simply put, the health department manages risk so you don't have to. So in order to manage risk, we started looking at how we can build goals to support that vision, or how we can work down to support the vision. We've identified 5 goals for the upcoming year. The first goal came about when Tim and I were putting together the budget. What we realized is that when we were reviewing the town's vision statement, Hopkinton's overall vision is to promote a well-educated and healthy community. That's the last reference within the document regarding health. So our first goal is when the community, or when the cornerstone of the community is built around the health of its citizenry and employees, the municipality can meet the goals and vision themes that are expressed in the vision statement. So we want to make sure that we are working with the town leadership to start introducing health into the overall vision statement and vision themes for the community. Moving on to number 2, once we've completed that goal, we want to embark on a strategic plan that prioritizes the town's vision, goals, and vision themes. The pandemic has caused the department to assume a defensive or reactive position for much of the last 2 years. And frankly, this isn't who we are, nor is this where we want to be. We believe a proactive, aligned, and well-focused plan will support the educational, fiscal, and public safety goals that have been developed by the town leadership that we have here. The department will continue to manage the viral, bacterial, and environmental risk that currently exists in the community. We will support our staff in training and credentialing to make sure that they are properly equipped to meet these needs. And with this work, we endeavor to continually improve our health metrics so that each resident can achieve, their full potential. Like Elaine had referenced, from the start of my employment, a goal of mine has been to improve and digitize our permitting process. The IT department has identified and contracted with a highly reputable organization that I'm confident that can help assist us with our digitization goal. And lastly, we're a competitive team. We've done extremely well at vaccinating the residents of Hopkinton. Our goal for 2023 is to fully vaccinate the population of Hopkinton and to collect the vaccine reimbursements that are due to us. And in doing that, it'll set us up, it'll set us up and fiscally, it'll provide some fiscal relief.
Ifan loves that you are paying attention to fiscal responsibility. We love the themes of digitization, strategic planning, and you brought a new one to us, which is metrics. And to be able to actually pay attention to over time how things change, we do need some of those numbers, and that is one of the valuable parts of SMART goals. We appreciate that. That brings us to our next leader. Amy, tell us about our seniors and how you're taking care of them.
Sure, thank you. So in senior services, we envision a community where seniors can feel valued and respected and can continue to have active and independent lives. So our goals really support that and as we go forward. So we want to continue to strengthen our relationships with community partners, to expand our ability to provide resources and services and programs to a diverse community. So we've been working with private, public, and nonprofit community agencies to expand our outreach to seniors, and we're going to continue to educate the community on the programs and services that we actually provide to our residents, and to continue to build a network of resources. These relationships, these community relationships, are really key in how we go about that as we grow for more and more. We're also looking to broaden our programming to promote awareness, appreciation, and to help promote inclusiveness in Hopkinton. Through our cultural, educational, and recreational programs, we're striving to ensure that everyone, from those who've lived in Hopkinton their entire lives to those who are newer to Hopkinton, can feel connected and included. And then finally, we will continue our work towards Hopkinton becoming an age and dementia-friendly community. This is an ongoing multi-year project. Both the age and dementia-friendly community initiatives can be worked on together, and we've chosen to do that. Both of them are established to make communities more welcoming and livable for older residents, people of all ages, and to create a community that supports those living with dementia. As an update, we now have a group of community members who are working towards this. And so if anyone is interested in joining us, please let me know. So in senior services, we think that Hopkinton should not only be known for its excellent schools, but that it should also be a welcoming place for seniors to continue to live well into their retirement.
Notice how she hit you with the vision at the beginning, at the end. That is ideal public speaking, in which you give the people the punchline. And then for those of us who are still digesting dinner, you get them the punchline at the end. And the thing that I heard that's so powerful there is partnerships. And there's a little teaser. When we're talking about recreation, you're about to hear about that in the future from one of your other leaders, and how we're going to make more expansive recreation opportunities available in our town. That brings us to Dawn. What partnerships have you got for our youth and families?
Well, our vision can be summed up in that every resident has a place to turn when they need help. That's really what we want and what we aim for in our work every day. This year's goals are focused on maximizing the addition of new staff, and through maximizing 2 grant awards we got in primary prevention of substance use for the community. And we want to maximize those grant awards and the addition of new staff through building relationships and developing programs. And so our first goal is to reduce mental health stigma through monthly support and educational programs for youth and the community. Why? Because mental health is health. And by normalizing this concept in various programmatic ways, coming at it through multiple directions, the health of the community is improved. Our second goal is to develop and implement a promotion strategy with underserved populations to reach underserved populations. Why? Because all residents deserve to be listened to and have access to the department's services in ways that foster dignity and respect. And then we want to engage the community in the work of primary prevention of substance misuse. That's across the community and across ages, with a focus on youth substance use prevention. Why? To improve the quality of life for our youth residents and for their families, and stop substance use before it starts. All of these goals grew out of a strategic planning process that was really laser focused to determine what we wanted to be when we grew up. And so adding a program development arm to our department will reach more people than ever, with larger programs, whether they be supportive programs like support groups, like what we ran in our last year for BIPOC youth. We could reach more kids that way by reaching them together and bringing them together. And we look forward to this year ahead. I am very excited. Like, I could float off this chair because the addition of staff is coming. The hiring through our grants is coming. And I just embrace having a staff that we can move forward on some of these initiatives to really impact the mental health of the community. I was thrilled to learn that it's a priority of the select board as well.
That underserved population inclusivity that ties to the select board goals, that's similar to the seniors' work on making sure that we are a senior safe population and town. That's the ways that you have to see these themes. Notice how what the select board is working on is what your professional staff is already digging into. Secondly, as Dawn mentioned, they've already done intentional strategic planning. Many of your departments have already gone through extensive processes based on your board work or requests, based on their own initiative or grants, to be able to begin that sort of work. The work of the town over the next year or two is actually to make these bound together, as we've started with the goals of the select board, so that there is an order and an intentional connection between all the departments and the overall hopes of the town. Which brings us to our next leader. Jay, tell us about Parks and Rec. You're still on mute, my friend. Before you go further, Jay, you're still on mute.
Sorry about that.
All good. We're glad to hear you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Our vision statement for Parks and Rec is very simple. We want to provide inclusive recreation programs and facilities for every resident in town, which leads us to our 3 big goals coming up. We would like to first replace the playing surface at the Fruit Street Athletic Field. We feel the need to do that to really ensure the safety of the over 3,000 participants that use that field annually. Secondly, we'd like to maintain Fruit Street Athletic Field as the high quality facility that it is, and that it continues to be a destination for youth sports tournaments in the Metro West area. The current surface is nearing the end of its estimated useful term. It's time to provide our residents with the greatest possible playing field that we can provide. Our second goal is to construct public pickleball and tennis courts. And we'd love to do this because it provides the community what I call cross-generational active recreation, meaning parents can play with children, parents can play with grandparents, uncles can play with nephews. It provides some fitness and some competitive programming for our active seniors, which is something that we'd really like to address. We have an enormous demand for youth tennis in town. All of our programs have wait lists, and we simply don't have enough tennis courts to facilitate that. And then finally, pickleball courts and tennis down at Fruit Street will further develop this property as a multi-purpose recreational destination in town, which has been a goal for the organization for a very long time. Our third goal, we would like to implement down at Sandy Beach Park a point-of-sale payment system. This will provide residents with a much more convenient way to purchase their beach passes. They won't have to use cash if they prefer not to use cash. They could use their debit card. Significantly reducing cash transactions will eliminate the associated risks inherent to that process down there. We'd like to minimize that as much as possible. And it enhances institutional controls and the reconciliation of receipts down there to ensure that we're maximizing the facility and providing the best facility we can.
The fact that we got to talk about pickleball on a public meeting as something that's going to make a community better is officially my favorite moment of the year. And for those of you who don't know pickleball, you need to learn about this sport. It is for everybody, and it will create more unity in this town, full stop. That was a personal advertisement. I apologize for my extra enthusiasm. Dave, you're up. Tell us about our facilities goals this year.
Thanks, John. My name is David Del Torrio. I'm the facilities director and town engineer here in Hopkinton. The facilities department is a standalone department. We report directly to the town manager's office. The strategic vision of the department is overall protection of town assets in providing clean, safe, comfortable public and employee areas in all town buildings. The key service areas the department provides is project management for capital and non-capital projects, asset management, energy management, professional engineering support to departments, boards, committees, direct staff support for the permanent building committee, emergency response for building alarms and building mechanical system failures, snow and ice removal. It's kind of an overall summary of the department. The department goals, the first department goal, develop a capital asset management plan. This will minimize operational impacts to all departments by reducing and minimizing unexpected failures of systems. And it provides a long-term capital plan for the department and the town. Second goal of the department, develop an energy efficiency tracking and measuring tool. What this will allow is me to quantify the actual cost savings of the energy initiatives we implement. It'll actually identify the most cost-effective programs so that we can focus more on programs that are realizing the most savings. Third department goal is restructure within budget constraints to increase the existing service levels. This will allow me to become more of a proactive and a less reactive department. It increases operational efficiency, and it maintains staff happiness by being proactive as opposed to reactive for everything.
Notice that Dave just referenced happiness. Notice that Dave referenced the ecology that we're trying to put in place. And notice that, like Sean, he talked about metrics. Keep hearing these themes so that you can ask good questions in the hour to come. Dave, we appreciate it. John W., you're up. Give us the Public Works big vision and goals.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Our big vision is to enhance Hopkinton's quality of life through a world-class, sustainable public works department. And our 3 goals this year, the first is to develop a sustainable water supply plan that meets the town's needs. And you heard earlier from the chairman that that's also one of the select board's goals. And that is so that we may supply one of the basic needs of our residents and businesses into the future. Our second goal is to encourage public involvement through increased social media presence so that we may better serve the community by hearing the needs of its residents. And the third goal is to support employee self-care because our employees are our #1 asset.
Notice 2 in a row on happiness and the emphasis of taking care of your professional staff. It cannot be underestimated in the present culture how much we as citizens can unintentionally put extra burdens on our staff by the way we approach them. And so one of the reasons you're hearing from your professional staff a desire for a way of operating that is connected to the community, but is still asking for partnership, is because we need your help in making sure that it's always a civil dialogue. Well done, sir. Glad to hear it. Megan, you're up. Give us the update for communications.
So for communications, our overall strategic objective to provide and maintain high-class emergency services with courtesy, compassion, and efficiency to save lives. And our 3 goals are creating uniformity through new and updated policies, since we are a new department. And the reason for that would be to operate more efficiently while maintaining that high quality of service that we strive for. Secondly, update our training program for the communications staff. Again, kind of goes in line with the first goal, is to assist with that efficient operation and providing the high quality of service. And then finally, creating a communication-specific public education program, because we'd like to educate the public and introduce them to the voices behind the scenes that they often talk to, but they don't ever see.
Megan, I have an idea.
Okay.
That introduction of people should happen on the pickleball courts. It should be a pickleball tournament among all your people, and it will become a fundraiser for the seniors' needs and the needs of our youth and families to try and do the inclusivity that we need to, with legal operations of people making donations based on the people who they think are going to win the tournament. What do you think?
I see a town-wide department tournament for pickleball. I don't even know how to play the game, but why not?
If you can play ping pong, you can play pickleball. That's the fun of it and makes it good for everybody. Well done. Chief Bennett, you're up.
Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to be here tonight. It's nice to see everybody on the screen. And John, you had mentioned connectivity, and looking at the screen, I see people that almost every person on the screen that we work together on something. So it's nice to be here. For the police department, our overarching vision is to enhance safety, the feeling of safety and quality of life. We need to really focus and always be focusing in those areas. As you also stated, we are fortunate to have a 5-year strategic plan that was done over time, very comprehensive research and feedback from the community. And that set forth 8 goals. And each year through this process, I identify three of those 8 goals to really focus on. Just to take a moment, the strategic plan focuses on traffic, youth, community engagement, constitutional crime prevention, attention to issues of opioid abuse, vaping, and mental health, sustaining staffing, succession planning, and protecting the health and wellness of our personnel. Specifically this year, and once again, I've identified the same 3 goals that are the priority goals for the purpose of the budget build, and they are as follows. And I've modified the protecting the health and wellness of our personnel a little bit to focus towards the town's goal and support the town-wide wellness of residents, members, and personnel. We have a lot of resources available to us. We're receiving a lot of training, and I want to offer that out to town-wide to any boards, committees, members that might be interested. And the why, because as we've always said here in town, it's been repeated often, is our personnel are our #1 asset. But we also need to look out for everyone else. Looking to expand community interaction and relationship building through in-person, virtual, and every communication stream that we can find. And why do we do that? Because people want to know who we are, what we do, maybe even understand a little bit why we do what we do. And the third is consistent and constitutional crime response and prevention in a fair and partial manner. If we're going to make everybody feel safe, then the only way to do that is through fair and impartial policing, which is key to trust.
Notice the education component of Chief Bennett's program for this year, trying to reach out to the public. You got the same thing from Megan. You got that kind of intention coming from a bunch of our departments tonight, and it's so important. Chief Miller, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you. The fire department's vision is to provide and maintain an aggressive fire and EMS organization with a safe, healthy, and diverse workforce. Our three primary goals for me this year for the organization are to evaluate and rewrite our department SOPs. This is to bring the current standards, the department to the current standards, meet the growth of the community and the ever-changing times. Community risk reduction is the second one for us, excuse me, to provide additional care and prevention to the community's senior population. This will be in conjunction with our senior center. The third one for us is enhanced diversity. And this is to develop an inclusive recruitment program to meet the growing needs of the community. And also this falls in line with the select board as well too.
Notice the theme of inclusivity again. And we're so grateful for that being the intention of not only the select board, but Norman's work. You're going to hear about that from Maria very soon. Thank you, Chief. Dr. Kavanaugh, tell us about the schools.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I want to point out that one of these departments does not appear like the others tonight, and the school department had no internet all day, no email all day today. And because of that, I did not receive the template. So ours looks just a little bit different. What you're seeing there is the Hopkinton Public Schools 3-year strategic objectives plan. And so if you take a look at slide number 14, I think it will outline it perhaps the best for you. We are currently in our 3rd year of this plan. We worked with a consultant to get us into these 3 large buckets, and so I'll go through them one at a time. The first is to maintain high student achievement in a time of rapid enrollment growth. And I think the why on this one is sort of a no-brainer. We have many, many students coming into our district all the time. And so in order to be able to achieve that, we're committed to building budgets that continue to propel innovation, that we will prioritize high quality curriculum instruction and assessment, that we will continue to launch initiatives that build leadership, innovation, and practical and agile programmatic expansion. And you'll see, I think, that need for programmatic expansion when we start talking about individual students. And then, of course, we have to plan for the human resources that come along with incredible enrollment growth, facility development, and equipment needs. Under diversity initiatives and also in tune with enrollment growth, we are accounting for the evolving profiles of our students. And one of the things that we are noticing is that not only are we changing demographically, but student needs are rapidly changing. And so that has caused us to need to look for additional programming for kids. And then finally, we're building impactful and engaging communication partnerships with local businesses, with community organizations, and with local officials. That was something that we deemed that we really needed to do to grow sort of our community relationships between the schools. The second one is valuing individual pathways and wellness. What we are committed to is to looking at our learners as individual people with individual needs and individual definitions of success. We often say every learner, every day. So if we take a look at that advanced learning for all of our students, when our kids are very young, we offer them foundational skills, but as they continue their trajectory through the Hopkinton Public Schools, they start to define their own unique pathways, and we're very proud of that work. We invest in their social, emotional, behavioral, and physical well-being. We hope to graduate well-balanced students, and we build individual habits of success. So we're teaching our kids advanced communication skills, exploration, risk-taking, independent thinking, and perseverance. In terms of diversity, We honor diversity, and we're starting to do is take a look at how that applies to curriculum instruction and assessment. And then finally, we hope to amplify student voice and self-advocacy skills. And then our third big bucket is to build school communities of collaboration. And again, that's really about ensuring that our kids have great ways to communicate and feel like they are part of the school community and part of the larger community. To that end, we enhance community and classroom capacity for kindness, respect, compassion, and service to others. And that is a pre-K to 12 initiative. You see that happening all through our schools. We ensure vertical alignment, and that's very tricky in Hopkinton because our kids are making very frequent transitions, going from a pre-K to 1 school to a 2-3 school to a 4-5 school to a middle school to a high school. Very few districts have that configuration, and so it can be a blessing and a challenge at the same time. We promote collaborative learning and problem solving, and we foster the growth of relational competencies. And this is, again, for all students. We develop advanced communication skills and opportunities to better understand each other. You know, all of our students are viewed as human beings, and that need to respect one another can't be understated. We create inclusive cultures that celebrate diversity and backgrounds, build relationships across race, class, gender, and learning ability to create caring learning communities. And finally, it's important to us to grow partnerships between families in our schools. So one of the things that we always see is that kids are far more successful if there's some kind of family or parental support, and that often comes about because we have strong communication with our families. And so these are the ways in which we are creating students who are critical thinkers, creative problem solvers, effective communicators, and productive, healthy citizens, which has been our vision statement for the last several years.
So if you were going to turn your vision statement in a tagline, Dr. Kavanaugh, what would it be? Is it every student every day? What is the thing that you want people on this call to remember?
Yeah, I think every student every day is a nice way to look at it.
And there's the punchline. And then you hear the 3 buckets. You'll be able to review that in the bits that we sent out. If you have more questions, you can go to Dr. Kavanaugh directly and ask her in second hour tonight. Which brings us to Connor, who recently in a survey of all town staff was elected the guy who's already following Norman's third goal of happier employees to a T. He's winning the war on happiness, and you can see it in his smile. Connor, give us your vision.
Hi, everyone. I'm Connor Deegan. I'm your town clerk. I just want to start with, I think that it's fitting that we're having this discussion on the anniversary of the founding of our town, the incorporation of our community. It's great that we are talking about our future 306 years after we were created. And here we are talking about moving forward with that. Our strategic objective in the town clerk's office is improving the community through excellent customer service and supporting enhanced civic engagement. Through this goal and this objective, we look to do that by first increasing the utilization of technology in our permitting and licensing. That is a primary piece of a lot of our customer service that we provide in our office, and increasing the convenience for our residents will help us in improving our data and projecting our future needs of both our department as well as ways that we can help the rest of the community. Our next goal would be to look to increase the staffing of our office. Our office has been able to try and maintain the level of service, and in talking with the select board's goals of trying to maintain our services in the face of our growth and making sure that everyone is still able to feel the pleasures of living in a wonderful community like Hopkinton. One of the pieces that we have had to look at is how can we ensure that we don't sacrifice our service or completely drain the resources that we currently have. And so that was one of the identified goals there. And the last being to increase civic engagement. This is something that I always feel passionate about, to see more people and new people come to town meeting. I mean, that's something that's an easy one to measure as well, to see increased involvement at town meeting and local elections, new people who are running for offices who are showing up to town meeting. This is something that can help to build an engaged community that can foster transparency and oversight of government. And that is vital in any community-based government, which we are with all of our volunteer boards that are here to listen to us and hopefully help us better shape our vision going forward. So I'll close with just that this is us looking to improve our community through our excellent service and support civic engagement, hopefully for at least another 306 years.
Bravo. We could finish right there with that sort of speech. We'll call on Connor again for another history inspiration moment at the beginning of the second hour. Get it ready now. Get the improv going. Notice transparency as the theme there that you heard the select board emphasize, and you got your town clerk emphasizing that as well. That's why we need some of those more resources, because that same kind and warm customer service needs enough people under the stress of volume to be able to handle the load. Which brings us to Ben. We can't do any of this without you getting us what we need and making sure the dollars are in the right buckets. Talk about accounting and procurement.
Thank you, John. So our mission is to improve the short and long-term financial outcomes of the town by following our guiding principles of empowerment, engagement, stewardship, and compliance. So our three main goals in March were long-term mandates that we've made steady progress on. And that's one, to more fully utilize the Munis ERP system, to use existing tools to modernize the accounting function and allow staff to focus on strategic initiatives and improve transparency. And we can do that by automating processes, digitizing records, utilizing project management tools, and improving employee and vendor engagement. So our second goal is to build a long-term roadmap to secure grant funding to support town success. And so when we do that, each taxpayer dollar goes farther, projects have a larger impact, and they happen more quickly. So we continue to collaborate with our colleagues to identify and apply for exigent grant opportunities. And these partnerships are going to be integral to working to identify those long-term projects and identifying future opportunities. And our third goal is to support the town's commitment to environmental responsibility and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so the overarching goal of the procurement function is to achieve the best value for all goods and services and maximizing the value of return for every tax dollar spent. And one component of that goal is to align ourselves with town priorities. And we can do that by consciously building specifications for projects that incorporate green initiatives and environmentally friendly products and methods. And also by leveraging resources available from the Massachusetts Supplier Diversity Office to engage suppliers in their program. And we can also improve engagement with and communication with these potential vendors while simultaneously ensuring compliance with procurement law. And then finally, we can use the Munis system to identify metrics about how we're doing in these two areas. And once we create a baseline, adjust our processes and change those moving forward to improve.
Notice the IT theme, the digitization using Munis, the measurement of our process to move towards improvement, the incorporation of diversity, and the green movements that are part of the select board's plan. The select board's smiling at you, Ben, and they can't be more happy with the way you're including their themes. Tim, you're up. We can't wait to hear about the larger themes that you've incorporated in terms of a finance system that's going to make us function more effectively.
Thanks, John. Our high-level strategic objectives really for our traditional finance functions like payroll, assessing, billing, cash management, investment, debt management is all about quality. How can we be more accurate, faster, more consistent, efficient, economical, and resilient? And the other part is for our business lines that involve budgeting and financial analysis. And there we're really focused on supporting executive decision-making and community decision-making and oversight by the select board in the town meeting of the town operations. These objectives are linked to our budget requests, and they're linked to all of our individual performance plans within finance. Our three big goals for the coming period under that set of objectives. First, of course, continuous improvement in documented business processes. And continuous improvement means we have to flesh out the entire set of business processes. And then we have a triennial review plan for those processes once they're documented. Really documenting these processes is central and inescapable for achieving quality improvements. To take us from expert-based systems where people rely on their memory or special knowledge or sticky notes on their computer to a more formalized process-based system where it's more factory-like for those functions. If we're successful at that, we will be more accurate. We'll be cheaper, we'll be faster, and we'll be more resilient. We'll be able to survive disasters. We'll be able to survive technology interruptions. We'll be able to survive personnel changes much more easily if all those things happen. The second goal is about leveraging technology to improve business process quality. We want to drive out all the routine, repetitive work that is being done by our highly qualified staff. And we want to reapply that talent to value-adding work. Really, this opportunity to free people up from doing things that are routine and repetitive and can be done through technology, and freeing them up to chase value for the taxpayer is the second big initiative. And the third one is to evolve our web-based financial dashboard. That's all about making quality information equally available to everyone in an inclusive way. It supports good decision-making and oversight, and it's all about helping to form good staff recommendations across departments as more people can use that information. Good metrics for community decisions, and also finding ways to make that information accessible to everyone in an inclusive way, so that there are multiple channels through which information flows to people and is available to serve different people who want to see it in different ways, and multiple ways of presenting information.
Notice the clarity there of transparency again through access points that are still measurable. That's the kind of theme that we're hearing across the department. Well done. Maria, you're next. Tell us about HR and how you're making HR more approachable, not only for the town, but for our citizens. Still on mute. We have to make it more approachable by hearing your fantastic vision and goals.
Thank
You're
you,
on.
John. Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. I'm Maria Casey, the town's HR director. The town of Hopkinton, through its HR department, is committed to equal opportunity, encourages diversity and inclusion, and believes that a positive culture of inclusion in town governance contributes to the town's overall qualities as a great place to live and work. The values we imbue to do these are trust, engagement, partnerships, aspirational, ethics, work-life balance, and commitment to service. HR's goals are diversity, equity, inclusion, and we added belonging because we really believe everybody just wants to belong. Organizational resilience, as well as pandemic resilience, and advancement opportunities. And so we want to enhance the workplace to more closely mirror the community. And again, that's linking with the select board's pledge and goal. Build resilience, and I would contend that that has a mental health component, which also is one of the select board's goals, to develop a strategic plan for pandemic and organizational resilience. And the third goal is to develop long-range succession planning. And so through that, we will identify and foster the development of high potential employees at all levels, and those that are critical to the future needs of the services to the Hopkinton residents.
Notice the operational resilience theme there in HR and in finance. It is one of HBR's theses that you should have your head of finance, your head of HR, and your CEO, in this case, Norman, as your town manager, thinking about all of the ways in which we can make the most resilient organizations. We have that happening here, and we're grateful for it. Which brings us to our final presentation before the break. Josh, you're our IT guy. Almost everyone has mentioned IT in one form or another. Are you feeling burdened right now?
No, not at all. Thanks, John. Yeah, I'm Josh Grossetti, the Director of IT for the town. The IT department's single sentence vision statement is that Hopkinton is the most technologically advanced and transparent town in the world. The three primary opportunities before the department include implementing a robust townwide document management system, enhancing the town's website, and continued cybersecurity awareness training for all employees. The first two opportunities are directly related to the IT department's vision. They align with the town's vision, and they represent logical and pragmatic next steps towards technology advancement and transparency. The cybersecurity training is an important component of overall cybersecurity posture, and we continue to see bad actors targeting government agencies and small municipalities with social engineering and phishing attempts, and that employee awareness is an important first line of defense.
That brings us to the conclusion of our first hour together tonight. And I do say we made it almost on time. Unbelievable presentations across the board to be efficient and insanely valuable in showing us themes. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. Do not leave the Zoom meeting, just go to dark for 5 minutes. We'll come back at 7:06 and you'll use the hand raise function to ask questions of your leaders. See you in 5. Welcome back, everyone. This is the time of Q&A in tonight's meeting, and we will be going until 8 o'clock if the questions persist. If they do not, we will ask our chair to wrap early. Please use the raise hand function in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and that will be the way we'll call on you. Who has our first question this evening for our department leaders, our select board members, or our town manager? Ron, you're up.
There's always has to be one person that goes first. So
thank you, sir.
So firstly, I want to thank everyone for their presentations. They were quite enlightening, and I do appreciate the visions put forth. My question is the connection with many of the departments with regards to the PFAS concerns going on. Obviously, this is dramatically affected with not only our current population, but the potential impact we'll have of people moving into the neighborhood. If this is another, I don't say it's as bad as Flint, Michigan, but we all know what happened there. So my question is, where does this fall in the priority list of the overall 10 that the selectmen put forth? Because this is a health-related issue. Obviously, it affects the effectiveness of vaccines for children, liver function. The slew of potential problems is quite substantial. I was curious as to where this is going to fall in the actual dichotomy of our budget.
Thanks, Ron. The question is, where does the water quality issues that are part of our goals for DPW fit in the select board goals? Irfan, I'll turn that to you.
So I'll start by saying we, as a select board, we feel that the town has an obligation to provide safe, drinkable water. With the PFAS situation, that has quickly escalated into one of our higher priorities and one of our top goals. We've been working with the DPW to address a temporary solution for the immediate and a long-term solution moving forward.
Irfan, where would you put it on the list of goals? Again, it's not a force rank exercise tonight. All 10 are important, but Ron wanted to know, where would you put it in the list of 10?
I think right now it's probably number 1.
And again, this is an adaptable list. Go ahead, sorry.
I mean, this is a health emergency, right? So we have an obligation to provide clean water and drinkable water. So yes, this also with DEP pushing us, it is a top goal right now.
Ron, a follow up, and then I'll ask for commentary from John W.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the candor of it. Our children drink water in schools, as Carol Kavanaugh mentioned. So this is a huge issue, and the unfortunate timing of with the pandemic and kids getting vaccinated, there is evidence that PFAS does affect vaccine effectiveness. So all these factors are important. I do appreciate your putting it number 1 for the health and welfare of our families and our children.
No one better than you, John, to take care of us. Tell us what the updates are.
Thank you very much. And I'm happy to say that developing a sustainable water supply plan that meets the town's needs today and in the future, that was my number 1 goal. And certainly PFAS has made that to be ever more important. We have shown that we have water supply issues here in town, and PFAS has brought water quality to the forefront. So we are working closely with the select board for the immediate plans and the interim plans and the future plans. So this is a top priority for the DPW.
John, where can people look for updates on the progress?
If you visit our website at the Town of Hopkinton DPW, there is a link to PFAS, and all the information that's current from either the town or DEP can be found there.
And this is, again, you're using social media as a tool to keep education and transparency going. That's a place for citizens to go and ask questions. Please ask them in a respectful way, because our leaders are working hard to solve this problem. Muriel, you're next. You've got the floor. We can't wait for your question.
All right, thank you so much. So thank you to all. This was really wonderful. I really appreciate it. And as people were speaking, I was busily sort of note-taking and highlighting the connections that I immediately saw to the select board's high-level goals, which I really appreciate. I guess it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. There are so many opportunities in here to marry some of those goals and to elevate the goals that have been put forward. For example, Mr. Kamalo suggests a repeatable strategic plan, which I fully support and love the idea. There's an opportunity there for that public input and communication, as is there for Sean and the Board of Health with the strategic planning for the department, for the fire department when they talk about their updating their SOPs. I just want to encourage everybody to sort of go back and do this exercise that I just did really quickly. How can you embed our priority to be a mentally healthy and diverse and inclusive and welcoming community in the goals as you've established them? How can you outreach in a communicative way to the public and receive their input and help shape some of your strategic planning? So that was what I was noticing. I really appreciated everybody's input, and I hope that people will think about it sort of in a next level. How do we make the most of each of these individual goals?
So Muriel, great point on public engagement around the strategic planning process to fulfill these goals. What would good look like to you in terms of public engagement in the years to come, creating a 2025 or 2030 plan?
So good would look like to me a plan that had intentionality in it to get the public's input and respond to it. I know that it can't always be tailor-made to each person in the public, but a specific intentional effort to contemplate how we make our processes better by making sure we're engaging with the public we serve.
I hear that need for a intentional process, and I hear it about getting feedback initially on the goals and the visions, but then also getting responses from people's initial feedback. We're going to have to create that cadence as we go forward. Thank you very much. Who has the next question for our leaders or our select board? Dan, you're up. We look forward to your words.
Hello, everyone. First, I want to say that just in listening tonight, it's such an impressive group here, and I appreciate the being part of this conversation and understanding what the goals are for everyone. But from a personnel standpoint, just as someone that volunteers on a board, I can't get over how strong the leadership of these departments are. My question, or my comment in the question, is that I think there's a lot to learn from Center School being vacated several years ago, and I understand that we're talking about, I guess, vacating Elmwood School possibly sometime in the next few years. My question is, how can we coordinate across departments to make sure that the town can maximize the use of Center School and get it handed over in condition that we can run with immediately?
Dr. Kavanaugh, I'm going to give that to you, and then I'm going to take it to Dave next. What are your thoughts?
So we do have our elementary school building committee, and hopefully on Wednesday of this week, we'll be moving into feasibility. It would be great if our ESBC2 is continuously engaging the community in thoughts about the Elmwood School. And I know that when you had center reuse, we spent a lot of time, I think, talking about how the reuse of Center School might fit in with some of the needs of the schools. Happy to engage in that.
I hear the openness for conversation. Dave, any ideas?
Yes. Dan, how are you? Thank you for the question. If I'm correcting you, you want to understand that with Elmwood should be turned over to the town, will there be more of collaboration between departments? I think that's what Carol was mentioning. We'll work together and trying to collaborate with the new building committee through any feasibility study that the school has for, should the MSBA accept this program. From a town facilities standpoint, I learned a lot on the Center School handover that I will try to be as involved as possible with the school to make improvements on that process.
Thank you, Dave. Any other staff leaders want to comment on this transition?
Yeah, Jody, if I may. Dan, thank you so much for asking this question. I think one piece that I've learned from the Center School process and this actually borrows from Muriel's phrase. I think at a moment when it becomes obvious to the town that a town facility is going to be discontinued or abandoned, we have to be very intentional about how we plan for that. We don't have to wait for the moment when the town actually abandons the facility and then leave it to chance as to what is going to happen. I think, therefore, as part of the feasibility study for Elmwood School, if a decision becomes obvious that the facility might be abandoned, we have to integrate into that process a planning process that is very deliberate, very intentional as to what will happen to that facility after the school is discontinued.
Any timelines on that process, Norman, or are they still in development?
Still in development.
Any other comments from leaders? Any follow-ups there, Dan?
No, I just appreciate all the comments, particularly Norman. I appreciate the recognition that there needs to be maybe a parallel path, that this isn't a linear thing, that a decision's made, a decision's implemented, i.e. the school moves out of the building, and then we start to develop a process, to develop a planning process. I think it's great that there's an acknowledgement that maybe these things need to be done in parallel. Thank you.
Yeah, well said. And again, that's the emphasis of this vision, goals, and mission work that's happening with your leaders every year, is to not ever be surprised by the challenges that face us, and then being able to publicly communicate why we're doing what we're doing ahead of these transitions. Next question. Mary Jo, you're up.
Well, it wasn't going to be a new question. I was just going to add to that I think that with the climate change and the green people in town and the studies that are being done, I think all the municipal buildings in the future are going to be looked at for climate problems, and maybe try to save some money in the future on heating and every single municipal building has to be looked at in the future for changes and for that kind of thing. So I think it's a big process that we've got to look at.
And we're grateful for Dave being on it, and he will keep us in the loop in terms of longer term planning of our resource collection for each building and what they are capable of doing and what transitions might happen. Next question or other comment. Again, use the raise hand function at the bottom. I was lucky to see Mary Jo. I would have gotten in trouble if I didn't. Dorothy, you're up. Oh, sorry, Ed, you're up.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. A big focus seems to be community health and the health of the people within it. And I suggest the value of hanging out in the woods, open space. But the other comment I have is unrelated to that. And it's the idea of basically unregulated free play. And I don't know whether Park and Rec could establish something like that, where basically kids come and they have pickup games, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, whatever, with oversight, but not involvement of, an adult. Much is learned by kids playing sport activities by themselves, making up their rules, deciding who's in, who's out, was it a goal, was it a foul, etc. And I think that's a skill that is in desperate need and is being lost. And I will shut up. Thank you.
Nope, great comments in both cases. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I thank you, Ed. That's a great comment. We try to encourage free play as much as we possibly can. The challenge we face is that we have so many participants in organized sports and organized rec programs with such limited space that we really don't have a lot of time and space for kids to go out and do that on our town fields and facilities. That being said, though, you'd be surprised how often, if you were to go to Fruit Street at 3:30 on a Tuesday, how many kids are just down there throwing lacrosse balls back and forth to each other, playing soccer, goofing off, which we love. The other thing I'll comment on is our recreational basketball program, which has, I think, 600 participants now. Those teams are all coached by high school kids. So parents drop their kids off, the kids go to the gym, and they're basically mentored by 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, which we have found to be enormously successful. The participants prefer it. They prefer not to have dad down there with a bunch of other older guys showing them how to play basketball. So thank you for your comment. We do encourage that free play as often as we can. It's just a challenge.
The free play pickleball bumper stickers will be available for fundraising very shortly. And we will ignore the comments about kiddos not wanting to play with us old guys. Hey, we still have those hook shots to throw at the pickup games when it comes. No, great comments, Jan. We appreciate the fact that there is such an overload on our fields, and that's why we need some of these new developments. And we love that it's already happening in terms of our high school kids coaching. Couldn't be better. Kelly, you're next.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. This is the first time I'm attending this type of thing, and I just want to echo what some of the other people had said. This is a fabulous group of people. I'm very, very excited to have the opportunity to be working on the Youth Commission. I think this question is probably for the Select Board, but I'm curious about budgeting for mental health. We talked a lot about, it seems like almost every department here has mental health as a focus, as part of their strategic goals, is to, make sure their employees are happy. And a lot of people talked about, making sure that the community has the services that they need. I guess, particularly, I'm curious about, youth and family services. I know that, they have staffing that they were able to fill through grants and so forth. But I was curious if the board has had any discussion on providing additional monetary support to provide some of these mental health, programs and supports that we'd like to bring to the community.
Irfan, I'll let you hit that first, and then I'll ask for other select board folks if they want to comment.
Sure. So, when we set the mental health as one of our goals, actually it started as number one until PFAS came about. But what we're really looking at is how kind of the big chunk pieces would be. We want universal access. We want increased system capacity, educating people about the existing resources, subsidies for those that need the support, and town employee training. Those are kind of the big chunks. And the way we get there is really by delegating to the professional staff. So I think once we go to the professional staff and the various boards as to what do you need, then that's when we can work toward providing that for you. Really this is a goal, it's a priority for us. So as we delegate this down to the staff and to the committees and commissions, we can then respond with your budget requests. And
Any other select board member want to add to that? And then we'll have fun taking on a quick education process to remind us how we get more money in the budget. Any other select board comments?
Yeah, this is Muriel. I'm happy to respond. I think, Kelly, you make an excellent point that that is really where the conversation needs to necessarily go next, right? Yeah, when we set a goal, we have to understand the realities that there is real concrete action that has to happen. If it's a priority, we have to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. And I'd also like to, just as a mental health professional, I also like to just say at this juncture, the PFAS crisis has taken, has leapt forward, but physical health and mental health need to have parity, right? Mental health is healthcare, and like physical health is. And I think that part of our role as leaders is to make sure we're talking in terms of parity, access, availability and supporting. I think that we haven't done that yet, but we're very eager to be able to do the right job in that regard.
Which is a great reminder, Muriel, and then I'll let you go, Mary Jo, is that we have, in terms of the process, go through your professionals. So as committee members or interested folks, if you're not on the committee, go to the committee of any of our public health serving organizations within town and have them ask for the budget. It's not going to be the select board that's going to make that budget happen. They've said it's a goal. They want our professional staff to do it, but it's got to be our professional staff who said, here are the right recommendations. Mary Jo, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking that we could really encourage all the departments by sending them phone numbers or whatever information we have connected with mental health so that they can send people in the right direction.
That's right. We absolutely are happy for any new resources you can pass on to our pros. They've got tons already, but they're always happy for the next opportunity to learn. Amy, what are your thoughts?
I was just going to add about the process that we have not really received the full town budget yet, but I would expect it's going to include some asks for mental health funding, and the townspeople will have to communicate that really well to the townspeople because they will ultimately vote on the budget. And if we're increasing something, they're going to feel it in their taxes, so they have to understand why it's a priority and make that choice at town meeting.
That's it. Well stated. Thank you for the summary. Dawn, what's up?
Happy just to remind folks that at town meeting, a position was approved for our department. And so through that process, we went through, a very intensive process of looking at all of our roles, maximizing all of our time, all the duties that come through this department, so that when we make this hire, and it's out there being advertised right now, so we're very close to hiring, that we knew exactly what lane this person would be in, what services they'd be providing. So we're doing a half program development and half clinical based on the needs of the community at this time. So help is coming to the department and expanded services to the community. And also reminding folks about interface referral service, which is open to every resident, and the behavioral health screenings that are open to every resident. So if somebody's just like been feeling kind of blue or wondering if their drinking is normal, I've had people say, well, I drink 3 or 4 glasses of, whatever a night. Is that normal? And they can go take a behavioral health screen and find out. It doesn't have to always be a talking head that tells them. They can go and then get resources afterwards to reach out. And so those resources are tailored to the community. So there are resources out there. We have to continually hit, every month with different ways of announcing that they're there and different ways of engaging people so that they know that they're there. So, and we're working on that, and we're working on exploring how do we do that, and how do we do that with all different populations, particularly people who are very resistant to the idea that mental health is health. And sometimes that, when we think of vulnerable populations, that can be a population that's very goal-oriented towards getting straight A's and being the best of the best and on top, because you don't acknowledge that you're not doing well. So vulnerable populations for us means a whole lot of things, and it covers really the entire population as well. So we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah, we appreciate the reminder of the resources that are already here, the staff that's coming. And again, in terms of supporting Dawn and others in terms of the mental health theme, make those requests known as committee members so that they can put that in their budgets that roll up to the select board. We look forward to it. Michael, give us your question.
Hi, thank you for having me on behalf of the Appropriation Committee. I thought this session was very informative, and I appreciate all the hard work everyone put into this, and we look forward to seeing everyone as the budget moves forward to town meeting. The question I have is one thing I've personally been interested in for ever since I've been on appropriation, probably even before, is the trails, and especially connecting to the Milford rail trail. And I was just wondering, as we're hearing all the goals, I didn't hear it as part of anybody's goals or vision moving forward. And it would be interesting, I would like to be able to use it while I still can, because it's been a long process. And I would be interested to see if if it can be one of the goals or from a higher level. I just wondering if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Great question, Michael. I'll turn that over to Norman.
Mike, good question. And I noticed too, Jane is here with us. I think overall it needs to be said at staff level, we have prioritized that project. You will notice a couple of things have happened. One, Dave's time is now dedicated to supporting the Upper Charles Trails Committee. And then number two, the select board also did move forward a trails coordination and management committee that is overseeing most of the trail activities here in town, signifying how we're prioritizing trail development in town.
Thank you, Norman. Other questions, Michael?
No, thank you. I just, because it is always high on the survey list of what we want for recreation, that it would be nice to see it at some level on one of the department's goals or select board goals. That's kind of my thought.
What I heard in this case, tell me if I've got it right, Norman, is that it is being actionable. It is already being actioned through Dave's work, and it is in the list of things that have gone from goals to actually planning at this point.
Correct.
You're going to see it, Michael. You heard it here
All
first.
right. Thank you.
Jane, you're up.
Oh, okay. Well, I would just like to say that since 2012, this town has already been very proactive in promoting all of the visions that I heard tonight: quality of life, public involvement, happiness and support, connectivity. I mean, that's what the trails is all about, is connecting Milford to Ashland through this trail through the east part of Hopkinton. Having said that, I can't thank the staff enough, particularly David and Ben and the administrative, Norman and Norman's office, for doing everything that they can to help us through this process. In addition, it's not beyond belief that if we can do this on the east part of Hopkinton, why can't we do it on the west part of Hopkinton and connect all of the town together through a comprehensive trail system? It takes time and it takes money, but it's planning. And if we do it right with David's help and Norman's help and Ben's help, we can do this through grants. It doesn't have to take answer the financial part of it. It doesn't have to take a lot of the town's resources. It does take some, but the state and the federal governments will pay for so much of the trail systems if we meet the goals, if we meet the planning priorities, if we do that. And we have our excellent town staff to guide us through that process. And to your point, we really hope to be able to make this a priority in the very near future.
I hear the advocacy for the trails and the connectivity of town. Jane, what do you think about pickleball?
I love pickleball. I want to learn how to manage.
Jay, I'm getting you support. We're doing the caucusing as we go.
We hope that this trail system will go right by the pickleball court so that neighborhoods can join in and kids can walk to school, and we can connect neighborhoods, and we can get the school, all of our kids off the street and onto trails and down to the center trail and down to town hop, down to the downtown center, and enhance the businesses and get up to the town common and make this an opportunity so that we can bring all of our neighborhoods together. And I think that would go a long way toward our public health, and also provide opportunities for education and all kinds of opportunities along the trails. I've seen so many different trails where you can help people learn how to behave on the trails. You can put braille systems out on the trail rails.
Jane, we've got it. What's really clear is your energy around it, and don't stop advocating. This is the process that we're engaging in tonight. Part play, mostly very serious in terms of our commitments and our priorities, and it comes from what we want to do to make things better. Ken, you're next.
As chair of the Community Preservation Committee, I'd like to encourage people to submit big projects, think about big projects in the next year or two. Our funding and our match from the state has been outstanding. We're looking for big things and big ideas. By the way, on Thursday, we'll probably vote to support bringing pickleball to town meeting with CPC funds, and also a large engineering contract for the design of the Campus Connector Trail. So I just please think big and think about where CPC can spend our money to further your goals.
Brilliant advertisement, Ken, and we look forward to those foreshadows. Is it Lana?
Yep, Alana. Hi.
Oh, Lana, great. You're up.
Hi. I just wanted to say thank you again for including myself in this meeting. I'm the chair of the Cultural Council, and I just wanted to say one thing, that one goal of the Cultural Council over the next 3 years, which kind of hopefully encompasses a little bit of what everyone's talking about and our town's goals, is to create a cultural district. So we've been working with the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and I think hopefully the Historic District, and basically creating a cultural district just gives us more money from the state. So it would just be a really nice way to get more funds to support about a mile radius around the Common to the HCA. And I just wanted to let everyone know that's a goal, about a 3-year goal of ours to do, and we'll be hopefully reaching out to many of you for input and suggestions of sites to be included in it. And hopefully include all the goals, or many of the goals that have been mentioned today, to just benefit the town and everyone in it.
We hear your enthusiasm for the cultural district as a methodology to get us to our top 10 list. Again, that's what the space is here for tonight. It's not just about asking questions. It's also about reminding each other about the opportunities and the good work happening on our different committees. David, you're up.
Yes, hi. Thank you, John. Sorry for the voice. I'm getting a cold. So I volunteer on the planning board and the trails committee, and I was at the Upper Charles public session about a week or so ago. It was very good. I know Elaine was there as well. However, there was a challenge that needs to be overcome, because there's 3 crossings of Route 85, and 50 or 60 folks that were there in attendance did not feel very good about that for the safety of their children, and mentioning previous catastrophes. So I just wanted to hear from, I guess Elaine would be the best person. How can we, to Muriel's point, the town is giving feedback, right? So how do we act on that? So I'd like to hear from Elaine on that, please.
Elaine, you're up.
I think this is part of an overall process where the design of this trail will go through many meetings, many iterations as the community determines what it would like to do.
Are overpasses the kind of thing that get thought about in this case, Elaine? What are the kind of solutions that you bring to these conversations?
I think depending on what the problem is, there lies a solution. So part of it is problem definition and then figuring out the solution.
And that is the way we began all of this work, David, in terms of our goal setting. And so you're bringing exactly the feedback we need so that problem state can become a vision and a goal going forward. Any other comment there, David?
No, thank you, John.
Other questions? Yeah,
I could just add one piece to that. I mean, the presentation was basically to seek input. And I think when you have any of the committees, any of the town committees that are seeking input, that is the public process as to how we better a project. So that's part of our inclusion. That's part of our seeking input from everyone. And we're grateful that we have the feedback that we can act on and come up with a better project.
And what's great about your question, David, is you're asking how the process works and what next steps are. We have to keep educating ourselves about how these processes work, because none of us know enough, or as much as Norman does, about the way in which we need to do these public processes. And so we just have to keep working together to educate the way to get to the result. Great question.
So, John, thank you. I just wanted to follow up real quickly. I just wanted to mention that I think our professional staff is great. I know everybody does what's best for this town, and I also see it for all the volunteers and all the boards. So it's really really nice to see, and I'm sure this will work out and everybody will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other questions tonight? So one more time, a reminder of how we got here, and then I'll go to Laya. If I pronounced that wrong, please correct me. Is that we got here by, as a staff, doing our problem statements that became a vision for the department, that then became goals, that then became the whys, which are the mission. And we then, with the select board, again, did problem statements, a little education on communication tendencies for team building, and then we turned those again into goals. And so this is the kind of beginnings of a larger strategic planning process. How do you pronounce your name, Leah? Say it right. For me.
Leah.
Leah, fantastic. Great to see you. What is your question tonight?
So I don't know if it's a question so much as a request. I'm part of the school committee. One of the things that I'm concerned about a lot is I see Carol put up slides that show that our per student spending is lower than many other towns that have comparable school districts, and we keep it kind of low. And I understand in general that we, take up a lot of the budget and that it's very hard, and I get all of that, but I was hoping that maybe long-term conversations on the fact that, we need to keep the school district at a certain level. We need to make sure our per student spending remains at a certain level to be able to keep everything running appropriately. That we might be able to engage on those sorts of conversations so that we plan ahead of time carefully to make sure that we're not seeing those numbers slip.
Yeah, I
So
hear
I
two
guess-
things. Yeah, I hear two things: the desire for continued improvement and consistency in our quality of education, and your worry, secondly, about the spending as a potential detriment to the long-term performance. Did I get those right?
Yes, I think that's about right. So not so much a question, just I'd love the thinking over time to happen and that we can consistently think about it.
Select Board, here's your advocacy. Carol is grateful for your comment. I see you're smiling there. Other comments tonight, other questions? Norman, then I turn it over to you for final words before we wrap for this evening.
I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for your time, your feedback, your questions, your suggestions, and your continued contributions to Community Hopkinton. As I said at the beginning of this webinar, one of the items we have added to this process is getting your feedback on how we can improve the delivery of this event. Thus, we will be sending out an email with a couple of questions where we'll be soliciting your feedback and helping us better understand how best to deliver this event. And I also highlighted the fact that we are looking forward to bringing this discussion to the next level, where the town can update its vision and mission statement, and then follow that up with the development of a comprehensive strategic plan, one that does exactly what I think everybody has said. We have identified common themes. How then do we bring those together into one plan that shows alignment based on inclusion, participation by all? John, anything else?
I think we're wrapping for tonight. Last chance for comments or questions. I hand it back to our chairman.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for participating in this meeting tonight. I really appreciate all the input and feedback, and I think everyone did a bang up job and putting this all together. And thank you, John, for guiding us through this. With all that, I call this meeting to a close.
Thank you, Ifan.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.